I am the faux heiress of a prestigious family, and upon the return of the true heiress, my family eagerly anticipates my descent into madness as they vie for her affection. However, I merely busily pack my belongings, expressing my gratitude. At last, I can depart? Thank you, thank you. The genuine heiress is taken aback, asking, "Do you not resent me?" I gently pat her shoulder and reply, "Sister, are you aware of the rules that govern this household? Morning jogs at 6, curfew at 8 in the evening, dining in silence, and romantic pursuits requiring family approval." Her complexion gradually pales. With a graceful wave, I wish her well. Best of luck as I embark on my quest for freedom. 1. The butler is calling. The butler is calling. While I was idly playing games at work, the sudden ring from Old Chin, the butler, startled me so much that I nearly lost control, causing my in-game character to perish instantly. "Miss Xiao, the master requests your immediate return to the main residence." I straightened up at once, glancing at the date in the lower right corner of my computer screen, my heart racing. Could it possibly be that? Uncle Chen. Could it be? Yes, Uncle Chen's voice was heavy. "Miss Jining's DNA results have come in, and the master has sent a convoy to fetch you." I sprang up from my office chair. My colleague, Lin Xiaoyu, was still lost in her gaming world and jumped in surprise at my sudden movement. Her eyes wide. "Did you win the lottery? Why are you so happy?" "It's even better than winning the lottery." I rapidly shut down my computer, hastily stuffing a small green potted plant from my desk into my bag. "I'm finally going to be free." "But why are you stealing company plants?" "I've nurtured it for 3 years. I've formed a bond." Half an hour later, I stood at the entrance of the Wen family's villa, taking a deep breath. "This is it, Wen Jiao. Perform this final act well, and you shall be liberated from this torment." 2. Upon pushing open the grand door, the atmosphere in the living room was so tense it felt as though one could wring water from it. My father, mother, and brother sat perfectly arranged on the leather sofa, forming a stable triangle. Dad, Mom, brother. I greeted each of them sweetly. My peripheral vision caught the DNA test report laid out on the coffee table. I remained composed, secretly reveling in my thoughts. What limited edition handbags should I take with me when I leave tonight? My father, oblivious to the joy in my eyes, cleared his throat tactically. "Jiao, sit down. I have some news to share with you. I'm the mistaken child, and the real daughter has been found, right? Where is she? I'll go pick her up." A heavy silence enveloped the spacious hall. The expressions on my family's faces resembled those of people who had swallowed a fly. When you narrowed his eyes, "Wen Jiao, are you all right? Have you lost your mind?" He paused. "If you need to cry, just let it out. Don't hold back." "Jiao, dear, I know you're upset too." My mother chimed in. "Stop right there. I'm perfectly fine." I raised my hand to interrupt. "When is my sister arriving? Do you need my help to prepare her room?" My father's brow furrowed. "Jiao, you're not upset? Your father still loves you. Why should I be upset?" I blinked innocently. Having another sister is wonderful. 3 pairs of eyes fixed on me with skepticism, clearly unconvinced. In their script, I was expected to A. Break down in tears. B. Flip the table in rage. C. Faint outright. They were even prepared to wait until I calmed down before allowing Wen Jining to enter. "Jining is back. And your identity?" When you reminded me in a low voice, oddly eager for me to lose my composure. Unfortunately, I blinked innocently, refusing to take the bait. No one could manipulate me because I was of no use. 3. When you scoffed, strong. Then, like a primary school student demonstrating authority, he waved to the butler. The butler promptly led in a girl dressed in a white gown. The girl bit her lip, her expression filled with anxiety and apprehension, seemingly bracing herself for an impending battle. The moment I discerned her features, I understood why my family had suddenly found the true daughter. She bore a resemblance that could not be described as identical, but she was undoubtedly cut from the same mold as my father. I stepped forward. The family's wary gazes darted between her and me. Amused by their unease, I suppressed a laugh and deliberately approached slowly. Then, under the watchful eyes of my family, I suddenly opened my arms wide. "Sister, welcome home." When Jining froze, her eyes widening like a startled rabbit as she stammered, "You don't hate me? I took your place." "Hate you? I can't thank you enough." Just as I was about to speak, a dramatic wail erupted from behind me. My mother, resembling a leading lady from a Qiangyao drama, dashed over and enveloped Wen Jining in her embrace. "My suffering daughter." I involuntarily smirked and discreetly stepped aside, allowing my father and brother the space to perform. The four of them formed a tight-knit group, creating a scene reminiscent of a primetime family melodrama. I stood to the side, observing their heartfelt reunion, a fleeting pang of bittersweet disappointment washing over me. However, I quickly composed myself. Seizing the moment while they were immersed in their emotional reunion, I quietly retreated a couple of steps, turned and ascended the stairs, swiftly beginning to pack my belongings. The first item to go was the book titled How to Elegantly Be a Socialite, which I discarded into the trash bin. 20 minutes later, I appeared at the staircase with my suitcase in tow. The expressions on my family's faces instantly froze, a mix of shock and intrigue. Wen Jiao, what do you think you're doing? Don't you have the demeanor of a wealthy heiress? I'm making room for my sister. Wen Jining stood there, bewildered. Sister, you don't need to. Noticing her discomfort, I patted her shoulder affectionately. Sister, do you know the rules of this household? 4. She shook her head in confusion. I began counting on my fingers. Every morning at 6, we run. Curfew is at 8. We must eat in silence. Romantic relationships require family approval. Oh. And remember my first date at 17? They sent 3 bodyguards with me, and they scared the boy so much he ended up transferring schools. Her complexion paled gradually as she timidly glanced at our parents. My mother interjected. Wen Jiao, don't scare your sister. I'm not scaring her. Just the usual. My brother was the quickest to react, the first to sense something amiss, and he asked where I was planning to go. To become an ordinary person. His eyes widened in disbelief, and he stepped in front of me. You've been pampered your whole life. How will you survive outside the Wen family? I halted, flashing him a mysterious smile. Brother, can you guess how much secret money I've saved over the years? To be honest, I'm just grateful that fate has finally opened its eyes. When Jinan grasped my fur coat, tears welling in her eyes. Sister, please don't go. I lovingly ruffled her hair. Be good from now on. You are the only hope of the Wen family. With that, I waved my hand dramatically and pushed my suitcase out of the Chung family residence without looking back. Good luck. I'm off to pursue freedom. Outside, my best friend Lin Xiaoyu was waiting in a Hummer, and when she saw my outfit, her jaw nearly dropped. Wen Jiao, are you eloping? I clattered along in my high heels, running towards the car. It's more exhilarating than eloping. This is a jailbreak. I fastened my seatbelt and exclaimed urgently, hurry, drive. While they are still processing this, the engine roared to life, and I took one last glance at the Wen family manor, where I had lived for over 20 years. Letting out a villainous laugh, Wen Jiao, am finally free. Perhaps it was just my imagination, but I could faintly hear my mother screaming from behind. Stop her. She has got my crocodile skin Birkin in that suitcase. 5. So, what is the plan, girl? Where shall we celebrate? Lin Xiaoyu's words jolted me back to reality. Celebrate. Yes. Such a fortunate turn of events must be marked with a proper celebration. I rubbed my hands together in excitement and pulled out my phone, where I had previously noted down a list titled 100 Things to Do after escaping the Wen family. I announced enthusiastically. First stop, Stinky Tofu. Second stop, Loasafen. Third stop, Veteran Barbecue. The wind rushed through the car window, carrying the smoky aroma of street food mixed with cumin. In the past, every meal I had at the Wen residence was strictly controlled by someone else. One must refrain from indulging in fatty foods, as they are prone to render one's complexion a sallow hue. Anything that emits a foul odor is absolutely forbidden. Yet at this moment I roll down the car window, exclaiming jubilantly to the night sky, to hell with the pretentious etiquette of socialites. I shall embrace my identity as a joyful gourmand. Come off it, with your pampered palate. A mere skewer of barbecue could land you in the hospital, Lin Xiaoyu retorts, pausing for effect before delivering a pointed jab. Besides, do you think Fu Yanli is a pushover? I am momentarily silenced, my bravado diminished by half at the mere mention of his name. Fu Yanli, a name that descends upon me like a bucket of icy water. Noticing my silence, Lin Xiaoyu clicks her tongue. What's the matter? Feeling timid? I manage a wry smile. It's not timidity. A marriage alliance is a calculated exchange of core interests between families. The most reliable choice, of course, is the biological daughter. What am I but a mere afterthought? It would be wiser to maintain a respectful distance. Don't be ridiculous. You two grew up together. Fu Yanli has feelings for you. She insists. You're overthinking it. I shake my head dismissively. It's merely a business arrangement. He is so cold and indifferent that he wouldn't care whether the bride is Wen Jiao, Wen Jining, or Wen Yu, so long as she belongs to the Wen family. Who is Fu Yanli? He is the heir of the Fu family, capable of instilling cold sweat in his adversaries at the negotiation table by the age of 16. By 20, he took over the family business, employing ruthless tactics that instill fear in the new elite of the business world.
To him,
feelings are likely the least valuable of commodities. Why is happiness so elusive? I lament, from once being my husband to now becoming my brother-in-law. On the afternoon following a night of heavy drinking, I rise from bed, my head pounding as if trampled by 10 trucks.
the sunlight outside is dazzling.
And squinting at my phone reveals it is 1:30 in the afternoon. Excellent. I have completely missed breakfast and lunch, truly on brand for me. My phone is inundated with a barrage of messages from Lin Xiuyu. So, how was your time with Fu Yanli last night? Did you unlock any new locations? Bed, sofa. In front of the mirror, at the floor-to-ceiling window? Don't thank me too much. After all, you've been coveting his physique for quite some time. It's only human to lose control. Gif of frantic blinking. Speaking of which, Fu Yanli certainly dines well. I wouldn't mind a taste. What Fu Yanli? Where did he come from? I massage my temples, attempting to extract fragments of memory from the haze of last night, but my mind is a chaotic void. Scrolling down, I discover a video. The moment I click it open, I nearly toss my phone away. In the footage, my face is flushed, my eyes glazed. Standing atop a plastic stool, I gaze at the stars from a 45-degree angle, melancholically sipping an 80 calcium milk, and solemnly declare, Xiuyu, remember that love will betray you. But cake will not. Lin Xiaoyu's voice filters and with disdain, speak plainly. I solemnly extend a finger to the camera. With my other hand, I dramatically retrieve a pristine white chef's hat from my bag and place it upon my head with grave seriousness, proclaiming, the former Wen Jiao has perished. Before you stands Nuhilu Jiao, destined to make you line up for 3 hours to buy her signature cheesecake. Lin Xiaoyu, with her low tolerance for humor, bursts into laughter that resonates across the adjacent table, causing the camera to shake violently. Haha, you are so cringeworthy, wait. Suddenly, her voice falters behind you. I scoff, refusing to turn around. Trying to trick me again? You did the same at KTV. In the next instant, I freeze for the camera captures a long, pale hand resting on my shoulder. I drunkenly turn to find a pair of familiar, slightly exasperated eyes staring back at me. It's Fu Yanli. Dressed impeccably in a suit and tie, he's a stark contrast to the smoky atmosphere of the barbecue stall, while I stand precariously on a plastic stool, donning a chef's hat and clutching half a bottle of 80 calcium milk. The air thickens with tension. In the video, I blink, then suddenly grin widely and poke his face.
Huh?
How did Fu Yanli end up in a place like this? Am I dreaming? I lean closer, my drunken gaze inspecting him. But why does this Fu Yanli seem so frosty? He doesn't even smile. As I speak, I cup his face in my hands and lift it, forcing a smile from him. His glasses skew from my clumsy maneuver, and for the first time, those typically calm eyes widen in surprise, their long lashes trembling. The video abruptly halts. My phone clatters to the floor. I slide down, covering my face with my hands, letting out a desperate wail. Let me die. Just as I ponder how to exit this world with dignity, my phone suddenly rings. The caller ID reads, Ice Block Fu. Flustered, I answer, my voice trembling, hello, hello? On the other end, his voice is deep, tinged with a barely perceptible fatigue. Are you awake? Yes, I'm awake, I respond, feeling utterly defeated. Does your head hurt? It's manageable. Well, the kitchen is on the second floor of my home. The cook has prepared a hangover soup for you. Your home's second floor? A realization dawns on me. I scan the unfamiliar bedroom, adorned in minimalist black, white, and gray decor. A half-drunk iced Americano sits on the nightstand. This, indeed, is Fu Yanli's bedroom.
Wait.
How did I end up in your house? After a 2-second silence on the other end, he explains, you drank too much last night and vomited all over me, ruining your own clothes in the process. I offered to take you back to the Wen family, but you clung to a telephone pole, refusing to leave, declaring you'd rather die than go back. In the end, you tugged at my sleeve, asking if I would elope with you. Lin Xiuyu seemed to have something urgent. She grabbed the car keys and left in a huff, as if determined. Thus, I had no choice but to bring you back to my place. My toes began to curl in dismay. So, we didn't do anything inappropriate, did we? You don't remember what happened last night. You were quite expressive with me. His tone carries an incredulous undertone, but he halts mid-sentence. My heart races to 180 beats per minute, 1,000 unspeakable possibilities flashing through my mind. In bed, on the sofa, in front of the mirror, by the floor-to-ceiling window. Surely, we couldn't have truly gone that far. Wen Jiao, this could very well be your future brother-in-law. You are an utter beast. Of course, I remember. It's just that I may not recall every detail. I force a laugh, attempting to mask my complete lack of recollection. The sound of a pen tapping rhythmically against a table reaches my ears, each tap resonating against my taut nerves. After a moment, a barely audible sigh escapes from the other end. Wen Jiao. Present. I respond reflexively, standing upright as though summoned by a teacher. You mentioned yesterday, he pauses, that you wish to open a cake shop? My heart skips a beat. Yes, indeed. Do you require investment? I quickly shake my head. This small venture hardly warrants any investment. I've calculated that my savings, coupled with the limited edition handbags I borrowed from home, are more than sufficient to secure a shop.
No.
I have funds. I simply wish for you to patronize my business. Very well. His agreement is swift. I shall attend your grand opening. My eyes light up. He is indeed a financial benefactor. On the other end, Fu Yanli gazes at me with a subtle smile, his voice laced with an almost imperceptible joy. Just as I believe the conversation is nearing its conclusion, he suddenly states, "What if I were to say I would be willing?" Nothing. His voice regained its habitual calm, as if the momentary wavering I had perceived was merely a figment of my imagination. Rest well. After hanging up, my phone screen illuminated. A friend request lay quietly in the notification bar. When Jining requests to add you as a friend. Her WeChat avatar depicted a weeping cat. I accepted the request, and she soon sent a choked voice message. Sister, it turns out you've been so weary all these years. How have you managed to endure? I stared at my phone, lost in contemplation. How have I persisted? It was certainly due to my own meekness. But since you've asked, I could only reply,
I'm sorry.
As long as you have hands holding a rose. When Jining seemed to find this amusing, I want to learn from you, sister. I will persevere. Following this, she sent a meme titled, Let Us Work Hard Together. JPG. I responded with a head pat JPG and casually inquired, in a couple of days, I'm opening my new shop. Would you like to come by? There will be plenty of little cakes. Eat as many as you want. Whatever flavors you desire, no one can resist the allure of soft, fragrant little cakes. When Jining was evidently touched, Sister, I'm studying advertising in college. I want to write a promotional post for your shop to repay you and your little cakes. She was as excited as a child. I shook my head, chuckling, not taking it too seriously. It wasn't until the opening day that I realized I had underestimated my sister's influence. As the morning sun streamed through the display window, a long line formed at the entrance. Young girls brandished their phones, snapping frantically at the cakes in the window. This is really the shop recommended by Sweetheart Detective. I came here from a certain book. This tiramisu is phenomenal. I must recommend it to my followers. Oh my, this little cake is simply delicious enough to make one weep. I could say it 1,000 times. Humanity cannot be without little cakes. Just as the West cannot be without Jerusalem. Alipay received 520 yuan. WeChat Pay received 888 yuan. The chime of the cash register echoed like celestial music, and a smile crept across my face, aligning with the sun. I hadn't anticipated that a big shot would be right beside me. When Jining had a food account on social media with 200,000 followers, a fact even our parents were unaware of. As I counted the money, I felt remorseful. Wen Yao, with such a wonderful sister, why are you still fixated on someone else's fiancé? Are you even human? By noon, the crowd had swelled. My hands were moving so swiftly that they almost left an afterimage. Despite the frenetic pace and the exhaustion that made my hands tremble, the feeling was exhilarating. The joy of self-reliance and the satisfaction of earning through my own efforts was something I had never experienced in the Wen household. At 6 in the evening, the throng finally dissipated. I was busy tallying the day's earnings when the chime of the shop's wind chimes announced a visitor. Today's cakes have all sold out. I looked up, momentarily taken aback. Fu Yanli stood at the entrance in a deep gray three-piece suit, his Maybach gleaming with the sinful glow of wealth in the sunset. As he stood there, I felt as if I could hear money whispering.
Ah.
He truly is the man I admire. His aura is unparalleled. He stepped forward, gazing at me with a look of mild surprise. I've never seen you this happy before at the Wen household. I thought you had no choice but to open a little cake shop. I chuckled while counting the money. Mr. Fu, you seem to misunderstand. If everyone were to become wealthy and run their own businesses, who would make these delightful little cakes? Moreover, someone must play the role of an ordinary person in this world. Without the ups and downs of life, without thrilling experiences, one can quietly assume the role of a happy little character in this world. Fu Yanli fell silent for a moment, his gaze sweeping over the empty display case. His voice slightly hoarse. On my way here, I saw someone carrying your cake, smiling with joy. I thought it must be delicious. He paused, his voice softening. Regrettably, I arrived too late. I apologize. It seems I can never appear by your side at the right moment. It's not too late. I interrupted him, retrieving a chocolate lava cake from the freezer.
Tajda.
I saved a piece for you. Surprised, aren't you?
Fu Yanli was momentarily stunned.
The last rays of the setting sun streamed through the glass window, and I saw the starlight flicker in his deep-set eyes, like fireworks blooming in the night sky. You've been waiting for me? Of course. After all, you are my. I bit my lip, swallowing the heartfelt words that nearly escaped. Good friend. In the past, I would have confidently declared, you are the man I admire. Sometimes, I would even playfully tease him, tugging at his sharp jawline. My voice low and teasing. Man, you're playing with fire. Until I saw his ears flush with crimson, then I would relent. But now, things have changed. I am no longer the daughter of a wealthy family. Our different backgrounds imply that there is no longer any possibility between us. This is my 10,000th dark crawl. Damn it, could the heavens grant me a husband with an 8-pack abs? Fu Yanli accepted the cake, savoring it slowly. By the time I returned from my round of errands, I found he had already left. Only the impeccably clean cake box and a trace of chocolate sauce remained, signifying his visit. I nodded in satisfaction. What a good child that cherishes food. Success is bound to follow. Suddenly, my phone vibrated and a transfer notification appeared on the screen. Alipay received 100,000 yuan. Immediately after, a text message followed. Little cake, very delicious. Consider this a deposit for tomorrow's company team building. I'd like to order 200 little cakes, and you can choose the flavors. Ah, I exclaimed, spinning around the shop with my phone in hand. The riches have finally come my way. If I can fulfill this order, not only will I make a substantial profit, but I can also ride the coattails of the Fu Group's reputation to gain notoriety. Wait a moment, suddenly I froze. 200 little cakes? Just me? This would take from dawn until dusk, wouldn't it? Mr. Fu, isn't T200 a bit excessive? Even the donkeys of a production team would. One must have dignity and courageously say no to the unreasonable.
Ding.
Another heavenly chime. Alipay received 20,000 yuan. The transfer memo read, overtime pay. I instantly deleted the message and typed furiously, little flying donkey is on the way to ensure the task is completed. This isn't my fault. It's merely that Fu Yanli is too generous. The sunset hung stubbornly on the horizon like an overcooked egg yolk pastry, radiating its final warmth. As I handed the last batch of little cakes to the delivery rider, I felt utterly drained, my spirit floating in the ether, collapsing onto the counter. I felt like a salted fish devoid of dreams, not even wanting to move a finger. 12 hours, 200 cakes. Even the donkeys of a production team would shake their heads. A message popped up on my phone. I opened it to find it was from a Plastic Sisters group I had previously joined. The wealthy girls in this group were all from established families in the capital. They had initially pulled me into the group purely for amusement, only to discover my personality resembled that of a steamed bun. A pinch? No reaction. A bite? It's hard as a rock. Utterly flavorless. My presence was so negligible that they had forgotten to kick me out. Sisters, you're killing me. The true daughter of the Wen family they just recognized came by with her mother to say hello. I merely lifted my eyelids and let out a couple of disdainful hums, and she froze, as rigid as a piece of wood, unable to articulate a coherent sentence. How could such a rustic bumpkin even think of entering the Wen family? I mused. Though Wen Jiao may not be remarkable, at least she has some knowledge of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which adds a touch of intrigue. I continued, but what about my hot-headed older sister? Wouldn't she frighten the poor girl into tears on the spot? I basked in the silence that followed. Goodness, had this group forgotten I was still present? I pressed the voice button and spoke ominously. I would like to remind everyone that I am still in the group. Feeling that my words lacked sufficient intimidation, I added, "Whoever dares to bully my sister shall be carried out." Moments after sending this message, the group fell utterly silent. What the hell? How is Wen Jiao in the group? Who added her? Why hasn't she been kicked out? Su Yun, was it you? I am utterly innocent. May the heavens discern loyalty from treachery. Then it must be Wang Qiao.
It wasn't me.
I beseech the great lord to see the truth. After a brief pause, Su Yun and Zhang Qiao suddenly had a moment of clarity, simultaneously typing, "Shen Qingyin. It's you. Shen Qingyin." As I observed the chaos unfolding in the group, I was about to seize the opportunity, but in the next moment, I found myself expelled from the group. "Shen Qingyin, it's all right, everyone stay calm. I will remove her right away." Before exiting the group, I stared at the screen, where their messages mocked Wen Jining, and a wave of sympathy washed over me. Had I been present, she would not have had to face such derision alone. My parents stubbornly dragged her to the gala, never considering whether she could withstand those scornful glances and mocking words. Frustrated, I raked my fingers through my hair. This home, which I had desperately fled from, continued to ensnare another girl. 15 minutes later, the taxi came to a halt at the hotel entrance. The revolving door reflected my hasty figure. Navigating through the crowd adorned in finery, my gaze searched earnestly. I quickly spotted Wen Jining. However, the next moment, my steps faltered. Standing opposite her was Fu Yanli. As he slightly bowed to listen to someone speak, his eyes appeared even deeper. How captivating! I recognized him immediately as my long-lost husband. No, wait, I remembered. He would eventually become my brother-in-law. Between us, we could at most be considered brothers. Brothers are brothers. They cannot transform into wives. Once one becomes a wife, one can no longer freely clasp a brother's shoulder and embark on adventures together. If one becomes a wife, the relationship is confined to the intimate warmth of shared nights. Thus, a brother can only be a wife. Oh no, I meant to say that a wife can only be a brother. Apologies, I meant brother. In this situation, as the former fiancé, my presence would only exacerbate the awkwardness. Surveying the surroundings, my gaze landed on the dessert area not far away. Concealed by a partition, I could overhear conversations without being detected. I quietly made my way over, stealthily snatching a piece of fruit from a server's tray, silently reciting, "As long as I remain sufficiently quiet, I shall be akin to a potted plant." Fu Yanli's voice suddenly rang clear. "Uncle, wasn't it said that Yao Yao would be coming today?" My father's voice carried an unmistakable awkwardness. That girl has vanished without a trace. It's been days since she last contacted the family, which is quite worrisome. What I meant by my daughter coming is that it's Jining. Fu Yanli appeared somewhat disappointed. "All right then, if there is nothing else, I have matters to attend to, so I shall take my leave." "Wait a moment." My father seemed to grasp Fu Yanli's arm. "You are aware of our family circumstances. Jiao is not our biological child. If that troubles you, we can reconsider." He left the latter part of his statement unspoken, yet Fu Yanli was astute enough to comprehend. The atmosphere suddenly turned tense. A heavy weight settled in my chest, akin to a lump of cotton. I had mentally prepared myself for this, yet when faced with the reality, the sorrow still overwhelmed me. I bit into the dessert harshly. "You've stirred my wrath, and now you face the repercussions." Half a minute later, Fu Yanli stepped back, his tone solemn. "Uncle, I initially leveraged my inheritance rights to persuade the elder to arrange this union, not because of the Wen family's market value. It was solely because the intended was Wen Jiao." My breath hitched. "I wish to clarify that I am not bound to marry into the Wen family, aside from Yao Yao. I desire no one else." I leaned against the partition, slowly crouching down, my heart racing. I felt like a fool, grinning like an idiot. His words echoed in my mind. Aside from Yao Yao, I desire no one else. Upon hearing Fu Yanli's declaration, my parents' expressions shifted to a blend of relief, pride, and embarrassment. Well, that's quite good. It seems Uncle and Auntie were overthinking things. My mother then seized Wen Jining's hand. Let me introduce Jining to some new friends. I won't hold you up any longer. I was left dumbstruck. The speed of this transformation would make even Lu Qian envious. Just as Fu Yanli was about to turn away, I quickly withdrew my head. When I peeked out again, I saw my parents leading Wen Jining into a suite. I intended to stealthily follow and reunite with her, but unexpectedly, another man entered before me, shutting the door behind him. My eyes narrowed. It was Zhou Yi, the eldest son of the Zhou family. While the Zhou family may not possess the deep roots of the Fu family, they have been gaining momentum in recent years. Was this a setup for my sister's blind date? I stealthily trailed behind, pressing my ear against the door. I consider it a blessing to have caught your eye. Let me tell you, in our circle, the Wen family is insignificant. Our wealth traces back at least to our great-grandfathers. Who doesn't he know that your family struck it rich by sheer luck and has been attempting to climb the social ladder through marriage? You think you're clever. But in the eyes of us old money, you're merely a clown, no different from a beggar. My heart burned with anger as I forcefully cracked the door open a sliver. Through the gap, I saw Zhou Yi gripping Wen Jining's chin, his tone dripping with disdain. However, your looks are quite to my liking. If you serve me well, perhaps I might consider lending a hand to the Wen family? Wen Jining had never faced such humiliation. Her face flushed. Young Master Zhou, please have some respect. What are you pretending for?
Zoe scoffed, yanking heiress.
A wild girl just recognized by her family thinks she's a young lady?
Bang!
Wen Jining was shoved onto the sofa. Following were sounds of fabric tearing and her screams. What are you doing? Let go of me. I have a boyfriend. Zhou Yi retorted, still pretending to be virtuous. If you truly have a boyfriend, just break up, serve me well, and perhaps I might feel generous enough to toss some food your family's way. My fists clenched. Blood surged to my head in an instant as I glanced around. I grabbed the fire extinguisher from the corridor, took a deep breath, swung my arm, and silently recited the demolition team's mantra. 80. 80.
Bang!
The door flew open just as Zhou Yi was pinning Wen Jining down, tearing at her collar. I charged forward, yanking him away and shielding Wen Jining behind me.
Zoe!
You better scram. I glared at him, my voice as cold as ice. Zhou Yi paused for a moment, then smirked maliciously. Oh, the Wen family's young lady has arrived? If the sisters are here to serve me together, I wouldn't mind. I nearly spat out yesterday's afternoon tea. What kind of insufferable man was this? He spoke as he reached out to grasp my chin. I abruptly swatted his hand away and retaliated with a resounding slap. Smack! Zhou Yi turned his head, his tongue lightly brushing against the tingling corner of his mouth, his gaze malevolent. Dare to strike me? Are you from the Wen family seeking oblivion? It is precisely scoundrels like you that deserve to be struck. I clenched my trembling fist, refusing to yield an inch. Behind me, Wen Jining suddenly clutched the hem of my garment, her voice laced with a sob. Sister, let us leave. Zhou Yi sneered. Leave? Today? Neither of you is going anywhere.
Zhou Yi.
A deep, cold male voice suddenly emanated from the doorway. Everyone froze. I turned to see Fu Yanli standing at the entrance, one hand casually in his pocket, his expression dark as ink. Touch them and see what happens. Zhou Yi instantly shrank back. Fu, young Master Fu. Apologize. Why should I apologize? The Wen family is nothing. Fu Yanli reiterated firmly. Either you apologize, or tomorrow your family's stocks will plummet. Choose one. Cold sweat trickled down Zhou Ye's forehead. The Fu family wielded considerable influence in the capital. If Zhou's family represented old money, the Fu family epitomized nobility. If Fu Yanli claimed he could cause a stock crash, he undoubtedly could. Apologize or stubbornly hold on. There was no question.
I am sorry.
Today, it was I, Zhou Yi, who was blinded by lust. I was in the wrong, and I apologize to you. Zhou Yi bowed deeply, nearly 90 degrees. At that moment, the commotion from the door had drawn a crowd outside, with some even recording on their phones. A battle of the elite sisters against a greasy man. This visit was worth it. How thrilling! Fu Xiao, the chill of the heavens, Zhou is ruined. I've long found Zhou Yi displeasing, Unfortunately, his family is powerful, but well done. Zhou Ye's parents were amidst the crowd, their expressions ashen. As they seized their son, "You disgraceful fool. Pack your bags and leave the country tomorrow. From now on, the family affairs will be managed by the second child." After the situation was resolved, Fu Yanli cast a glance, and the bodyguards immediately cleared the area. The heavy, ornate wooden door closed gently, leaving only Wen Jining and me in the room. She huddled in the corner of the sofa, her expression filled with panic. It was then I noticed how much weight she had lost. The once well-fitted Chanel suit now hung loosely on her, resembling a child who had stolen an adult's clothing. I poked Wen Jining and whispered, "Little sister, you seem like a ball of dough that hasn't risen." This remark seemed to unlock something within her. Suddenly, Wen Jining collapsed into my embrace, weeping, "Sister, I don't want to go home either." She choked out, "Every day I have to wake up at 5 for morning runs, followed by back-to-back intensive training sessions. Last week, I fell off while practicing equestrianism, and mother merely remarked, 'The daughters of the Wen family cannot be so fragile.' Today, she took me to meet other ladies, and a group of them were particularly fierce, cornering me in the restroom and forbidding me to leave. They even demanded I remove the jewelry I was wearing, telling me I didn't deserve to wear such things." Outside, rain had begun to fall, the droplets tapping against the glass like countless tiny hammers striking at my heart. I held Wen Jining's frail shoulders tightly, waiting until she finally poured out all her grievances, wiping her tears away. Looking into her glistening eyes, I apologized. "I'm sorry, dear sister. I am but a coward. I only thought of escaping for myself, leaving you behind in that quagmire. If I had been there, they wouldn't have dared to bully you. Do Mom and Dad know you have been wronged?" She shook her head. "I don't want to worry them." After a moment, she summoned her courage. "Sister, can I refuse the arranged marriage? I have a boyfriend in college. We have been together for 3 years. He never looks down on me for being an orphan. He is principled, polite, and, most importantly, respects me. In my heart, he is 100 times better than any young Master Zhou or Wang. But his family is of modest means. Mom and Dad would never agree." Seeing her reddened eyes, my guilt peaked at that moment. "Don't worry," I said, wrapping my arm around her shoulders, thumping my chest confidently. "Leave this matter to your sister." Yet, the moment the words left my mouth, I found myself in a quandary. Convincing my traditional and conservative parents to accept a poor boy would be akin to reaching for the stars. Unless... I leaned closer to her ear, speaking in hushed tones, "We shall use magic to defeat magic." I whispered my plan to Wen Jining for 10 minutes. Upon hearing it, her eyes widened in astonishment. "Sister, can this really work?" I nodded. "It's the only way. This room is too dark. We need to open a skylight here, but they might not allow it. However, if you insist on tearing down the roof, they will come to mediate and be willing to open a window. After our parents endure the non-mainstream, the grandparent-grandchild romance, and the blooming of same-sex love," I continued, "when your genuine boyfriend appears, he will be like an angel descending from heaven." She seemed a bit apprehensive. "But what if Mom and Dad conduct a background check? What if they discover he is an actor? That would be disastrous." "You need not worry. I will enlist Fu Yanli's help ensuring authenticity. As long as Mom and Dad conduct a background check, they will be horrified to find that it is all true, he. Wen Jining's face lit up with a smile, her eyes sparkling as she gave me a thumbs up. "Sister, I knew you had a brilliant plan." Fu Yanli worked with remarkable efficiency, soon gathering all the necessary details. "The boy with colorful hair is a new post, 00S engineer at Fu Technology, and the bald professor is the dean of the medical school, Director Zhang." Fu Yanli paused for a moment, his expression turning nuanced. "As for the girlfriend, my cousin just saw Wen Jining's photo and messaged me, saying she would be willing to sacrifice for the sake of art, and asked if we should add a kissing scene." I face-bombed, chuckling bitterly. Please don't fall for a straight girl. At the Fu estate, the roof plan round 1 was underway. My parents were surprised at my early return home and hadn't yet spoken when a loud crash echoed from downstairs. As we rushed down, a young man riding a flashy motorcycle burst into the living room with Wen Jining. She awkwardly introduced him to our parents. "This is my boyfriend." Mom and Dad glanced at his colorful hair, clearly reluctant to greet him. The boy spoke up first. "The night is dark, the roads are slippery, and this society is complex. It's a pleasure to meet you." He stepped forward to shake hands. My mother immediately stood up, pretending to exercise. Unfazed. He turned to my father and shook his hand firmly. My father, adopting an elder's demeanor, began brewing tea, probing for information. How many children are in your family? I'm an only child. When Jining chimed in, being an only child is great. My parents exchanged looks, silent. I stifled a laugh, recalling all the sad moments of my life. Sensing their discontent, Wen Jining quickly made amends, and he can sing and dance. At this, the boy promptly showcased a dance routine, incorporating Wen Jining as he performed and shouted. My parents appeared momentarily dazed. My mother, clinging to the last shred of hope, asked tremulously, "Do you have a car and a house?" He raised 2 fingers. 2 houses, 2 cars. Oh my, I drive really fast, I assure you. No traffic at all. My parents. Despite having mentally sentenced this young man to death, they decided, out of politeness, to let him stay for dinner, hoping to subtly dissuade him during the meal. As we began eating, my parents couldn't help but frown at the sight of him drinking soup straight from the bowl. You should use a spoon to drink soup. As my mother was halfway through her sentence, the fiery youth had already initiated a live stream, showcasing the interior layout and decor of the house. Hello, dear friends. I am currently at my future mother-in-law's residence. Just look at this place. Isn't it splendid? My father promptly spewed soup from his mouth, and I quickly handed him a tissue in a considerate gesture. Truly, a professional performer. He could never remain idle for a moment. After taking just a couple of bites, the youth flipped the camera to focus on my parents. Come say hello to our online family. My parents, caught off guard, instinctively responded with a hello. The camera then turned to me and Wen Jining, and we both greeted with enthusiasm.
Huh?
What was that? Those 2 young ladies were quite lovely. We need more shots of them. Tonight. Let us aim for 1 million likes. With 1 million likes, I can do anything, including proposing right here. Wen Jining, ever the diligent one, was feeding the fiery youth with a spoonful of rice. He glanced at his phone while taking a small bite, a few grains of rice tumbling to the floor. My father, unable to contain himself any longer, pulled out his belt, ready to take action.
Get out.
Just leave. I hurriedly intervened, signaling to the ladies. They understood and swiftly exited. Just then, I bumped into a new, who had just returned from socializing. He stared incredulously at the youth's colorful hair, doubting whether he was still under the influence of alcohol. Such a character could never possibly belong to the Wen family. Upon entering, after hearing my parents discuss Wen Jining's antics, he grabbed a broom and turned to leave. Realizing the situation was dire, I quickly pulled him aside after he stepped out, whispering urgently. Wen Yu's face lit up in disbelief. Is that even possible? I lowered my voice. Just nod for yes. Shake your head for no, and join us. Go, go, go. Wen Yu nodded vigorously. Go, go, go. With Wen Yu's involvement, our plan progressed more smoothly. He discreetly urged my parents to be more accepting, while I stood firm alongside Wen Jining. Wen Jining only needed to appear as pitiful as possible, further exacerbating my parents' anxiety. 2 weeks later, Operation House Reveal Round 2 commenced. Wen Jining once again awkwardly introduced Dad, Mom, this is my boyfriend, a scholar. My father, gazing at this balding man who was of similar age to himself, visibly twitched. A professor, when silent, is inconspicuous, but when he speaks, he is formidable.
Dad, he began.
My father nearly succumbed to low blood sugar. I quickly offered him a small cake I had baked. Amidst the chaos, my brother cooperated by ushering the 2 out. A month later, Operation House Reveal Round 3. My parents, faced with a cool gentleman, bore expressions that were neither entirely favorable nor unfavorable. At least he was younger and polite. After inquiring about his family background, they found it satisfactory. Though not affluent, they were content. After dinner, the cool gentleman asked Wen Jining, do you have a sanitary napkin? I think my period just started. My mother, doubting her ears, responded, what? Your aunt is coming? Without waiting for an explanation, Wen Jining retrieved a sanitary pad from her bag and handed it to him. The cool gentleman remained silent, merely taking the pad to the restroom. My father's teacup shattered on the floor. My mother tore off her face mask, exclaiming she's a woman. Vens hining notet. My father whipped out his belt, while my mother grabbed a broom. In a swift response, I and Wen Yu each blocked one of them. frantically signaling to Wen Jining. Once again, Wen Jining and her partner made a hasty exit. Another month passed, and Wen Jining finally brought her legitimate partner home. My father firmly blocked the door, demanding, "How old are you?" Gu Yan, confused but compliant, replied, 23. Male or female?
Male.
My father then embraced Gu Yan's shoulders. My good son-in-law, why did you only just arrive? My mother wore a satisfied expression as well. When Jining and I exchanged glances, the Operation House reveal was a resounding success. With Wen Jining's major life event resolved, it was time for me to address my own. In the attic, I bit down on my pen while doodling in a handmade notebook. Surrounding my feet were treasures from childhood unearthed from storage, origami cranes from kindergarten, a handmade bookend from elementary school, my first long-distance running medal from middle school, and the competition trophy from high school. It even included postcards and souvenirs sent by Fu Yanli during his years studying abroad. Throughout his overseas education, he had been sending me pieces of the world in this manner. How fortunate I was that the person I loved also loved me back. He had already shown courage. It was now my turn to be brave. I encouraged myself as I began to wrestle with LED lights to create a photo wall, scatter petals, and craft a heart-shaped cake. I decided on the second-floor terrace of the cake shop as the location for my confession. Fu Yanli had been visiting the little cake shop daily, making it the perfect opportunity for a surprise. As the phone rang, I stabilized the lights with one hand while answering with the other. Hello, yes, it's me, the one who ordered 999 flowers. Please help me deliver them to the second floor. Everything was ready, except for the husband. Clearing my throat, I practiced my heartfelt confession into a voice message for Fu Yanli. The cake shop is closed today, but I still prepared your little cake. When is it convenient for you to come by? He responded almost instantly, I'll come right after my meeting in about an hour. After hanging up, I couldn't contain my excitement and let out a squeal. I began nervously rehearsing my heartfelt confession in the air. Fu Yanli, actually, Suddenly, I blinked. Fu Yanli, no, wait, starting over.
Fu Yanli.
I cherish you. Can you give me a clear answer? Something felt off. Lin Xiaoyu, watching my performance through the video, burst into laughter. Wen Jiyao, is this a confession or a challenge? If you ask me, just say what comes to your mind. Sincerity is the most genuine. I found her reasoning sound. Consequently, I abandoned my rehearsals. In the half hour that followed, my heart raced as if it would leap from my chest. I paced back and forth on the terrace, occasionally checking my reflection in a small mirror. I even nervously counted the rose petals. He will agree immediately, he will hesitate but ultimately say yes, he will agree right away. As I counted the 99th petal, the shop's doorbell chimed brightly. As Fu Yanli pushed the door open, the shop was eerily empty. Yao Yao? I opened the door on the second floor just a crack and called down, I'm up here, come on up. Okay. Thud, thud, thud. He slowly ascended the wooden staircase. His footsteps suddenly halted. 1 minute passed, then 2. I was anxious to open the door when it finally swung open. With Fu Yanli's motion, the LED lights illuminated all at once. He stood at the intersection of light and shadow, his gaze moving from the scattered petals to the photo wall before landing on my flushed face, his throat bobbing slightly.
Fu Yanli.
I excitedly approached him, but in my nervousness, I stumbled over my own feet, leading to a comical fall. Thud. I inadvertently bowed before him in a grand gesture. Wen Jiyao, he scooped me up, laughter tinged in his voice. Are you here to celebrate the new year or to pay homage to heaven and earth? I felt an overwhelming urge to sink into the floor. Just as I was about to retort, he suddenly pulled me into his embrace. I stood transfixed, gazing at him, as his breath brushed against my ear. The distance between us was so minimal. His lips, so rosy and seemingly soft, stirred an irresistible desire to kiss him. The warm light surrounding us filtered through his lashes, casting delicate shadows upon his face. He retrieved a velvet box from his pocket, within which lay a magnificent 5-carat diamond ring, resting quietly. In truth, I have been preparing this ring for quite some time, he confessed. I never dared to give it to you until now. May I place it upon your finger? He inquired softly, his eyes brimming with starlight. I nodded vigorously, extending my trembling left hand. Fu Yanli, do you know? I whispered, leaning against his shoulder. I spent half an hour preparing my confession. Yet I ended up saying not a single word. He chuckled warmly, his gentle hand caressing my hair. It matters not. Your intentions have been received. May I steal a kiss from you? I blurted out, driven by an inexplicable impulse. Of course, he replied, his words trailing off as our lips met. I could scarcely wait another moment. Tilting my head back, my vision blurred, revealing only his quivering lashes and the faint blush at the corners of his eyes. Suddenly, he pulled back slightly, his breath ragged against my forehead. Breathe, he urged. Behind his glasses, his eyes were dark, reflecting my flushed face. Are you in such a hurry? His fingertips grazed my damp lips as he cradled my knees, lifting me onto the small wooden table. The night is still young. He leaned closer, resting his nose against my heated earlobe. We can take our time. In the distance, a shooting star streaked across the night sky. I silently made a wish, hoping that for the rest of my days, I could share this sky full of stars with him. The story concludes here. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next tale.